Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
All right. I've asked everybody to hit their video when they're ready to ask you a question. I'll probably call on the questionnaire before they ask you, and then if you have like an opening statement, a little bit about day one, and then we'll open it up for questions.
All right. Thanks, Kent. First off, man, it's kind of good to be back. I know we're all kind of dealing with some of the same things that we've been dealing with, since March, really. Our life has changed since then. And the football part of it, of course, we didn't have any spring practices. So, for about a month, we've had some informal workouts going on, more lifting, running. Last couple weeks or so, we've added walkthroughs to the mix. And today, of course, was our first official practice. We're excited to have an opportunity to play the #1 team in the country, the opening game of the season. But until then, there's a lot of work to do. That's what we're going through. As I said, a lot of things have changed. As I talk to our players, we're saying that it's as safe, and we feel like Champaign is about as safe as a place as you could be right now, being an athlete, a football player here, really an athlete at the University of Illinois. Our protocol, our COVID protocol is about as good as you get. Randy Ballard, Jeremy Bush, and the rest of our medical staff and our doctors have done a super job. Just kind of talking a little bit about what we're doing here. Our players will be tested daily. Not many can say that. So we'll, as far as knowing what's going on with each one of our athletes, we'll have about as good a, chance to know that before we go on the football field, as I said, as anyone. No system is foolproof. It's still about compliance a little bit. And, for us and our players, if you were at practice today, you would see all of us in masks, at least one form of mask, and with our players, shields on their helmets. We're practicing social distancing as much as you possibly can. These first 2 days are non-padded practices, so it's a little bit different. We don't have all of the answers right now, but each day we'll learn a bit more to just create a better environment to learn. We want to play football this year. Again, we realize it's bigger than just football, what we're dealing with. So day one was a success as far as we're concerned. And I'll take your question.
Robert, you're up.
So, Coach, first time to talk about some of the personnel issues, I guess. Roster came out today. Trayshawn Smith was not on that roster. Also, maybe other guys like Ricky Smalling, maybe talk about, Rayvon Bonner chosen to sit out, roster moves in this kind of crazy time.
Okay. Which each new year, your roster is gonna change quite a bit. And we, #1, we'll be trying to improve our roster right up until they tell us, you can't anymore. So it's gonna be a fluid roster for quite a bit of time, most of the year. Some of the guys that you mentioned a little bit, Trayshawn Smith, we believe in the graduate transfer market, so we'll continue to recruit a lot of those guys. Sometimes guys are committed and they end up going a little different direction. As you're dealing with the graduate transfer, he's not really yours, and the marriage doesn't really happen until you get on campus and all of that. So we were recruiting him. He chose to go elsewhere. So Trayshawn Smith will not be joining our football team. You mentioned Ricky Smalling. There's some other, not off the field, but just some things non-related to football on why Ricky won't be with us anymore. I'm trying to think of the other players. You mentioned Rayvon Bonner. At the University of Illinois, and I think most schools are doing this, all players have an option to opt out if they have concerns about COVID-19 and just them playing football. Rayvon chose that route, which we support. So those are three other players that, and you know, if there's a guy, today was again our first day. We have a few players that will be joining us though that aren't here yet, and I can't really talk about any players being on our team until they're actually here. We'll have a few more, about three other players that will be joining us a little bit later. I don't know if I missed anyone else that you asked about.
Jake Cerny was the only other one. I know he was.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Jake Cerny too. I know, when it initially came out, someone told me that we had three players that opted out. No, we've had one player that's opted out, and that's Rayvon Bonner. Jake Cerny, like a lot of us, met his partner for life and got married. He was already a graduate here at the University of Illinois and chose to move on with his life. That's what he was related to.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, Shannon, you're up.
I think that works. Hi, Lovie. How are you?
Great. Shannon, how about you?
I'm all right. You mentioned doing daily testing, and one of the reasons the Big Ten said they were going to the conference only schedule was to have that uniformity, that comfort level when teams play each other. Would you like to see the Big Ten as a whole do daily testing?
Well,
I think it should.
I think our testing for the Big Ten overall, as you count all the schools, will be as good as it is in any conference. I think some of us at our university is able to do even a little bit more. I think, yes, Shannon, there should be minimum tests that you should have. Every university should have, and I think I know the Big Ten has that. We're just kind of blessed here at the University of Illinois where we can do a little bit more, but the more the better. I absolutely believe in testing. I think that it should be a given that we all wear a mask, football players, everyone in general, to try to, offset this disease as much as we can.
And there was 1,000 Big Ten athletes wrote this letter. I'm sure you've read it and looked it over. Do you agree with those demands? Would you be, it seems like some of them a lot are being met at Illinois, but how have you talked about that with players on your team, and do you agree with those things or would move to support those requests?
Well, this is, I talk, Shannon, to our football players here, and I listen to them. Not just through a letter, but daily input from what our players feel comfortable with. So I have talked to our players, and each one of our players that has chosen to be here today and just be a part of our football team is pretty happy with what's going on right now with what we're doing. Can we make things better for the players? Absolutely, and I hope that we get to that point. But for us right now, it was about safety for the players to go back and play the game of football, which we're doing, and just having the COVID protocols in place for us right now. And that's what we're doing.
Thanks. That's good for me now. Thank you.
Thank you. We haven't been together in about 5 months, and so I'm going to have to carry this conversation the entire time. Annobody else has any other questions. Football season starting up.
Lovie, this is Matt Stevens with Illini Now Sports Illustrated. I wanted to ask you about depth. First day of camp. Do you have any depth concerns positional wise? And if you do, is linebacker one of them?
Well, Matt, to answer your question, absolutely. First day of, training camp, every year there are concerns that you have. Just talking about linebacker in general. Well, Jake Hansen would be our Mike linebacker this year. Jake's one of the best linebackers in football. Milo Eifler would play the wheel linebacker position. Kalon Tolson will be our Sam linebacker. All three of those guys have played ball, and they're good football players. Backing them up, we have a couple of different options. Tariq Barnes played for us a little bit last year. Shimon Cooper has, in workouts, we're really excited about his second year in our program. Should help an awful lot. Delano Ware would be another. So I'm excited about some of the young depth. The players I mentioned haven't played a lot, but they're all guys that have a lot of promise. And we feel good about at least our 2 deep right now at the linebacker position.
And I noticed on the roster, Lovie, that there are, I think I counted 39 guys that had player weight differences from last year to this year. Obviously, that's going to happen, but I wanted you to comment on what you thought of the progress in the summer and in the spring that they were able to do with Coach Hernandez, and maybe getting their bodies a little bit differently for what you want them to do in 2020.
Another good question, Matt. First, just talking about weight in general. Weight is the most overrated thing that I think there is. Strength is not, but a lot of our players that you've mentioned, we have some of our players that have made unbelievable gains. I was just walking in with 6 feet of course, apart, of course, with Seth Coleman coming in. He's at least 25 pounds heavier in a year of good weight. So we have quite a few of our guys that have made unbelievable gains in the weight room, but also added a little bit of muscle and size too, which we needed to do. We recruit. We'd rather have a small athlete and put good weight on them the right way, and Coach Lou has done an excellent job with that. Some of our other new players, just new guys in our program. I mentioned kind of grad transfers a little bit earlier, but I'm excited about Daniel Bebe. We've had success with that family, so we're excited about adding another guy to the mix. Blake Girasati. These are good football players that kind of chose to just add a little depth. Offensive line wise, we have one of the best offensive lines back in the country, but we lost Richie Pettibone last year. So, Burtis Brown, Jordan Slaughter, guys competing at that next position. Really excited about what our offensive line will be able to do this year. But back to the earlier question about depth, we've lost a lot on the defensive line. So we really need to get to camp to develop some of those guys too.
Hey, Scott Beatty.
Hey, Lovie, first of all, maybe the least important question, but nice glasses. Where'd you get them?
A lot of things change. They told me the older you get, the more, I think there's a screen in front of me, right? I can't really tell without it, but anyway, I use readers now quite often. That's changed since I talked with y'all last time.
Well, they look good. I'm curious about the tone of practice and camp, given everything that's surrounding us, and both with Black Lives Matter and also the pandemic. Do you sense a different tone or a vibe? Is the excitement for football muted at all, even though it's there, just because it seems like there's bigger priorities circling around us?
Well, there has been a lot that's happened socially, of course, with our country, racial equality. Just so much has happened. Of course, we were talking about COVID also, but the excitement for football, though, is still there. Nothing changes. I think this is my 41st year maybe of training camp. That's a long time. I'm going to throw that out there. But the excitement is still there, of course, for me and for our team. Our practices are a little bit different right now. The first couple of days are non-padded practices. I think I said that earlier, but we're kind of split apart right now. There's no offense, defense, and things like that. We've adjusted how we practice, at least in the interim. But yes, the excitement is there, knowing who our first opponent is. And then also just building on last year. We made progress with our program last year. And this is the best football team. Since I've been here, this is our best football team we're going to put on the field this year. 2 years ago, we're talking about those 15 freshmen that started. They're seniors now. And going back to the earlier question, I think maybe from Shannon, I listened to them. They have a voice in what we do always. So it's not like we have to have a lot of special meetings to attack and address things that are happening right now, maybe to the rest of the world. It's kind of what we do always, and I like where we are.
And then you mentioned there, my other question was, is the nature of practice changing because of COVID? Normally you might talk about limiting contact just to prevent injuries in training camp, but are you limiting contact or practicing in a different way because of COVID?
Well, we will be. As I said, the first couple of days, just if you were here today, you would see that we were on two, offense, defense, we're on two separate fields. We'll eventually get back together, but that's what we're doing in general. Things that have changed, we have afternoon meetings today. There will be virtual meetings. We're in the interim, we're not meeting. We'll have all virtual meetings, watching video, all of that, just trying to keep the contact to a minimum as much as anything. Eventually though, we're going to have to practice football and get a little bit up closer, a little bit closer with closer contact. And that'll be just a part of it. All the safeguards we have in place with our players, we think will offset a lot of things, but it still comes down to compliance with our guys of when they leave the building. Basketball has a heck of a situation being in a bubble. College football, I think the NFL, none of us have that. We just have to rely on all of us being disciplined when we leave the building as much as anything. And we trust the guys to do that.
Hey, Jeremy, you're up. Bob Osmussen on deck.
Lovie, good to see you. Hope you're well. You mentioned some of the transfer additions that you've made. I imagine, you build through high school kind of like the draft in the NFL, and then the transfers have kind of become the market, kind of like free agency. Just how has the portal changed the way you kind of go about roster building, or college football has kind of gone about roster building?
Well, Jeremy, I think where I look at it exactly what you said. Your foundation has to be with high school athletes. That won't change for us. But I think you can also offset your roster after you go through a season. You have a chance to look at where you are after a season. And now a good option that I see is the graduate transfer market, because of what you're getting. I make the statement that sometimes divorce is a good thing. That's reality. It is. And I think the second time around, things can really work out well. And that's what we found. The graduate transfers that we brought into our program, I would want to marry my daughter. These type of good men have proven that they know the meaning of student athlete. They've gotten their degree, and they just need a second chance. I believe in second chances. Simple as that. So we will continue to use the graduate transfer market as an addition to what we're going to do with the high school athletes.
You have a few guys who might have to sit out that are on the roster now: Kamari Thompson, Brian Hightower, Brevin Jones. I know waivers can be inconsistent in the past, but are you hopeful, or are you trying to get waivers for any of those guys?
Well, I say the graduate transfer market. We will take some transfers also, like last year. Luke Ford, Milo Eifler, we took Derek Smith. These guys are ready to go this year, but we will look at that a little bit. But when we take a transfer, we're saying, hey, we're okay if he can't play right away. But what we'll do is we will request a waiver for the guys to be immediately eligible for all of these athletes. And I think there's good reason for it. And as I look at what's happening in the rest of college football, there are a lot of guys that have transferred, and it seems like most of them have been granted waivers right now in this unsettling time. And guys want to have a better situation, whether it's family issues or whatever. That's what some of our players, our transfers, have gone through. So I'm hoping that some of them will be eligible and be granted the waiver to play immediately also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Bob, you're up. Alec on deck. Gavin in the hole.
Hey, Coach, great to see you. You mentioned the atmosphere today. You did have fans there. I know the last couple of years you've had crowds and fans at the rec fields. How was that different for you today? Did you miss the fans, miss the interaction with the people, your fan base?
Bob, we absolutely missed that. Yes. And, players, of course, you like playing in front of as many fans as possible. But a lot has changed, Bob, since I saw your face last, a lot has changed. And it's a different world. and we need to get used to it. You know, stadium's not going to be filled to capacity this year. So for us, it's just another step along the way of this new normal for us, and we will adjust. Even though a lot of training camp has been, we've seen fans there, some days we didn't, and we've had good practices that way too. So this is our new world we're living in, and we'll adjust to it and just have to make the best of it.
I got one more, Coach. You've had a day to kind of absorb the schedule. What's your thoughts on it when you look at it now? Obviously, a pretty good team coming here early September. The rest is just kind of your thoughts. I know you talked about some, but what after looking at it for a day, what do you think?
Well, Bob, normally, you know, it's always about the, coaching 101, you know, that first game. Don't look to the second game. All right. And really being honest with you, how I've always looked at it is that first quarter, the non-conference games, is different than when you start Big Ten play. So first off, to get the guys really excited, you know, when you start Big Ten play, and then we get a chance to play the number one team in the country. And we know a lot of the guys by name. That's a great opportunity for a program like ours that's trying to get there. So loved it. Yeah, I've had a chance to digest the schedule a little bit. So the opening game, have Ohio State come here. We've knocked off some big people here in Memorial Stadium. So we're looking for another opportunity against, as I said, a great team. And also going on the road of seeing the first road opponent. We had a heck of a game against Nebraska last year. Scott Frost does a great job, just like Ryan Day does with Ohio State. So looking forward to both of those games and the rest of the Big Ten schedule.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Alec. Alec, you're up. Alec, you're up. Gavin, you're on deck.
Hey, Coach. Glad you're doing well. I know you're really proud of Jake Hansen and the leadership that he had last season at the Will. How excited are you to get him at maybe not more of a more traditional leadership spot at the mic, but just heading into this season, how excited are you to have him there?
Very excited. First off, Jake's just an excellent football player. He gets it. You can make adjustments with him. It's a natural transition for him to be the Mike linebacker for us this year. Again, he knows the defense. Coach talk again. He is like a coach on the football field. So, again, once you get to your last year, we've gone through an awful lot. My first year here, I saw Jake. You know, we have about 5 or 6 players that, went with – we played Ohio State last time up there and went through that massacre a little bit. We're here. Jake was injured on the sideline. I said, Jake, we'll have another chance someday. So really excited about the leadership that he will provide. And on a personal note, just love the guy. And as simple as that. Can't hide my feelings. I just what he stands for, what you get from him daily. I know what he's doing on and off the field. Just been a blessing to have a chance to coach a guy like that.
You mentioned the two deep a little bit with guys like Shimon Cooper, Tariq Barnes. What are you looking for from those younger guys in these couple of weeks with training camp?
And really what we've been getting all along, there's a natural progression that you have to go through. You can't skip a step. As a young player, that's what they went through last year. But what I've seen, as we talk about weight, Shimon Cooper is 20 pounds heavier in a year. He's as intelligent and smart a football player as there is around. Excited about the step that he and Tariq played a little bit more last year. But what we're trying to see from really our team is just that. From the time we start doing walkthroughs, we've seen so much improvement, and we'll need to do that and more, of course, to be ready for Ohio State.
And the last question I had, Milo obviously had a lot of really big plays last year for you guys, big highlight reel plays. Do you think he's prone for a big breakout season potentially for you?
Well, he has to be, and he will. It takes a while to really, get the system down. And Milo, he had some flash plays last year, but this year what we're hoping to see is a more consistent linebacker that's as capable of making those big play after play. He's got everything you're looking for. He can rush the pass. He can play great in zone coverage, man coverage. His last year, it's like with Jake Hansen, we're expecting big things.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Gavin and Mariah, try to keep it to one question, and then we'll finish up with Brett. Thanks.
All right. If I only got one, Lovie, it's good to see you. I just wanted to know, you guys have dealt with, a bunch of positives, a positive COVID test throughout the summer, and it seems like, most of those came right when players got here. I'm wondering what you kind of seen. Have you seen guys' attitudes change since that, or their actions and levels of, decisions they've made, whether it's just taking it more seriously or just a shift in focus since those?
Well, just talking about just the COVID test in general, when I say this is the safest place for the players to be, I think that kind of proved it a little bit. As you mentioned, we've had some guys come in. We had more that came in and tested positive. They were bringing it from somewhere else. Champaign, as most of us know, you can't hardly be in a better place. As far as them changing their thinking, once we got them here, we started putting our protocol in place. And I think that takes care of an awful lot. But there is no perfect world, though. And that's what we have to be ready for. Again, we have a great COVID protocol in place. But there are some issues that we deal with. Contact tracing, just some of the things that still, though, it's about what guys do when they leave here. And for us, in a way, we are in a bubble right now, too. Summer school is going on right now. We're getting ready to have a lot of students come to campus. There's a whole different situation that we'll be dealing with then, but we'll have things in place to make the best of that also.
Thanks.
All right, Mariah, and then Brett.
Hi, Lovie. As somebody who is at higher risk, I'm wondering if you personally have any COVID safety protocols that differ from your players.
Okay. I was really doing good. So why am I more at risk? You're saying, Mariah, you're saying I'm an old guy. Is that what you're saying? That I have to be concerned? Bob, I take offense to that question. I've been answered to a lot of people. Hey, coach, you're right. You're over 60. I'll just say you haven't seen me. I'm in the best shape I've been in a long time. I'm gonna throw that out there. To get to your question, I'm just like everybody else, Mariah. I have a mask on wherever I go. You see me ride my bike into work. I even have it on then. I'm washing my hands. I'm trying to keep social distance. I'm doing all of those things. And to me, that's all I can do. Plus everybody that's not even involved with football, that's what we're doing. And I feel safe, and I kind of trust our process and everything that's going on.
As long as you feel safe, Lovie, we're worried about you, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Brett has the last question of the day for Coach.
Lovie, it seems like a lot of people have been riding a roller coaster here. Are we going to have sports? Are we not? Are we going to have a lot of the things we've been used to? I know you're a pretty even-keeled guy, but how have you kind of wavered in these last 5 months of the unknowns? And have you had the thought that you might not play this year?
Well, Brett, how I operate is that, okay, start off my glass half full each day. And it's always about what we can control. We can control, first off, our whole COVID protocol that we have on keeping our players safe, our plan. That's what I rely on, is just that. I understand what can happen down the way. But to me, it's just about focusing in on what we're doing right now. And I feel good about all of that. I hope. At the same time, I don't have my head in the sand. I realize that, first off, there's no given that college football for sure will be played. But right now, what they've told us is that we could start practicing, and that's what we're doing. And until somebody tells us different, that's what we're going to do. We have a schedule now. We're doing everything to lead up to that game, and that's enough for me to get up each morning and attack that day. And our football team is taking that same approach, one day at a time. Today, you could put a plus by the University of Illinois. We had a good start.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you for your time today. Appreciate day one update. And we're going to move on to a couple of players here. We got a couple of captains. So thank you.
See y'all tomorrow.
All right, our first, I think Hansen's our first guy. I'm going to step out of the screen here, and we'll get him. Sit down. Ready for Jake, you're up.
What's going on? How's everyone doing? Can they hear me?
Great.
Jake, I'll just start if no one else will.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jake, just wondering, what was today like to get back on the field and just to maybe have masks and all that stuff? Just what was this experience like for you?
It was definitely a new one, but it was good to get back out there and be around everyone and get back to playing football, something we haven't done in a while. Obviously, we didn't get spring ball, so it was fun today.
What's this whole process been like for you to be here, though, I think the last 2 months and get to this point of playing and practicing?
I mean, I'm happy we're finally here, and given everything that's come up and all the different curveballs we've gotten so far, it's a positive thing that I think we've come this far. So excited about that.
Thanks, Jake.
Who came investigated?
So back in March, you talked a little bit about how you were feeling very healthy, that you were feeling the healthiest that you've had in a very long time. And that with quarantine and everything going on with no practices, that you said it was very important for your team to just stay in the best shape physically as possible.
Yeah.
Now that you guys are back together, what have you seen as far as the physical health of all of your teammates?
I think everyone's pretty healthy for the most part. Everyone stayed on top of what they needed to conditioning-wise and lifting-wise. So we came back and everyone took care of business over quarantine.
And you also mentioned that obviously some younger guys might have to go through the process of learning a little bit more quickly because you missed out on that spring season. So how have you seen just the development of younger guys and what they've been going through?
Our young, just from LB, they've done a great job taking advantage of our Zoom meetings that we had and some of our walkthroughs that we were able to do this past week. And they've been taking a great advantage of that and made the most of their opportunities. So they're picking it up well and they're coming along.
Hey, Jake. Lovie finally said that you'd be moving to the Mike linebacker, maybe the worst kept secret in the last few months. But what does that position mean to you? I know you've watched a couple guys take bigger leadership roles, I guess, in that position. What's it mean to you to kind of absorb that spot?
I knew for a while. But being a Mike linebacker obviously means a little bit more. You're making all the calls, making all the checks. Everyone's relying on you the whole time. So it's a big step, and excited to take that step and fill that role.
I know you've watched guys like Dele and Delshon over the course. Have you kind of been picking up things from them over the course of the last few years, anticipating this? I mean, was this something you kind of saw coming down the line?
Yeah, a lot of the times I've in some of our game plan last year, I'd taken Mike reps to for just in case purposes, or if Dele went down or things like that in training camp. I took a couple Mike reps. So getting those early on was helpful for sure.
Jake is one of the leaders of the team. You kind of talking to the guys all the time about doing the right things, get away from the field, that kind of thing, or you not having to do that?
Sorry, I didn't really get the question.
As one of the leaders of the team, are you talking to the other guys about doing the right thing away from the field? Make sure.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of the younger guys don't necessarily understand as much because they don't. They feel like they have a really long time, where it's more important for the seniors that they the young guys have to think about the older people because they don't necessarily they don't get that this is our last 6 months here or last year here, and they have another 3 or 4 years. So you just have to harp on that a lot.
Thanks, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jake, it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Good to see you.
First of all, how was it just getting out there today and finally being able to practice? And how different was it than the normal practice, how it usually is before all of this, and how, you know, a first practice would normally be?
I mean, it was a pretty typical first practice when it comes down to just straight football. But from like a regulation standpoint, it was definitely a little bit different, but we're trying to keep it as close to normal as possible. But they like our warm up was a little bit different. For example, we just had to like space out and distance ourselves a bit.
And it's kind of grim to bring this up as like the second question to you. I'm sure you want to talk about, you know, football and getting back to playing, but you guys dealt with a number of positive tests throughout the summer, as Illinois announced recently. But I asked Lovie if there's been kind of a change in team attitude or anything since that, and, you know, guys taking things seriously and kind of, you know, seeing if the protocol works. I'm just wondering if you think that, you know, things are safe there, and if guys have really bought into the idea of, you know, kind of having to be disciplined away from practice and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think everyone's, I mean, for the most part, is doing a good job taking care of their business. I think we're more safe here than we are at home, to be honest, because I'm not around another group of people that's going to be tested every single day like we are. So we're getting tested every day. There's no that's safer than me being at home around my family where they're not getting tested every day. So I think I feel plenty safe, and I know that a lot of guys are doing the right things and staying inside, and it comes down to just everyone thinking of other people instead of themselves, because that's really who it's going to affect.
Absolutely. And then, you know, looking ahead, you guys are going to be one of the first probably prime time college football matchups of the season if things progress to that point and everyone is able to safely do it. How exciting is it, and what is that challenge like, knowing that you're going to have to face Ohio State?
I mean, we knew going into the year at some point we were going to play them. So, but it definitely means something else when it's a Thursday night and you're going to have the spotlight on you. And that's a big game for a lot of our seniors that played Ohio State, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and they gave us all we could handle. And I think I'm really excited for it. It definitely means a lot.
Thanks.
Jake, kind of building off of what Gavin asked, you guys have known you weren't going to have that non-conference schedule. Have you guys kind of had any discussions about maybe, you know, not having that time to gear up? You know, you guys are really going to have to be ready to go week one with a national title contender in Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's for everyone in the Big Ten, though, too. It's Ohio State's going through the same thing. They're not going to get any tune-up or earlier games that aren't Big Ten games to get into their tip-top shape. So, I mean, it's for everyone, and it's going to be a challenge that we're all going to have to face. So it's kind of like everyone's going through different battles. Like, it's not just affecting us or just affecting Northwestern or Wisconsin or Ohio State. It's affecting all of us.
Jake.
Hey, Jake, glad you're doing well. I guess the biggest question I have is in terms of coaching. Obviously, they were really proud of the performance you had last year, but what areas has Lovie or Miles spoken to you about where they want to see you improve the most heading into the season?
I think a lot of it has to do with being a better tackler. I think at times came up where missed a few bigger plays and outside, and I think tackling is a point of emphasis, and then just taking the next step mentally and not putting myself in situations, or putting the defense in situations now that I'll be making the calls and being able to make the right checks. So just taking that next step forward as well.
And then one more, health-wise, where are you at? I mean, obviously you missed the last few games of last season. Are you back to 100%? Are you confident? Are you have any hesitancy heading into practice?
No hesitancy. I'm all go at practice. I've been all go since basically January 1, which a couple days after our bowl game. So I'm I'm fine right now.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Jake, it's a little unfair for me to ask you to speak for him, but you're in his meeting. You're in the same meetings every day, and I assume he was out at practice today. But I'm sure you saw Milo made some comments in the offseason about his concerns about playing during the pandemic. I'm sure his concerns aren't unique. But as far as you know, is he locked in and 100% committed to the 2020 season, or does he still have reservations?
As far as I know, I think Milo's playing this year. That's what I have. That's what I have in my mind right now. So,
did you have any? I know you had concerns about leaving Florida and going to the summer workouts just because of what you could get done. But did you have any? Do you have any still resembling concerns about playing during the pandemic in your mind?
None. No.
Hey, Jake, Jim Cotter here. I know the possibility of playing in front of few fans, or even some cases no fans this year, is a perplexing ordeal. Just what are you prepared to have just in case there are so little fans in the stands to play, the crowd noise and whatnot? How is that going to be different than in past years?
Well, I mean, you might be able to hear everything I'm saying out there, so there's that. But and there's, I mean, you're gonna hear. A lot of the players are gonna be heard more than some of the fans, is what we're kind of thinking, depending on, obviously, like you said, where we play. But to me, I'm kind of, with everything that's been said about not playing and playing with this one and playing with that, I'm just kind of happy we're able to get out there and play,
Hey, Jake, Scott Beatty here. Hope you're well. I know you addressed Ohio State, but I wonder what the conversation was when you guys as a team learned your schedule. And, as soon as it comes out, there's media folks that like to immediately prognosticate and talk about it. A lot of folks have characterized it as a tough schedule. Do you see it that way? And how much do you embrace that and the chance to maybe beat expectations on that?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to a tough schedule, I'd say the Big Ten's a tough schedule every year. Every time you play in the Big Ten, you got to show up every game, or otherwise you're gonna get beat bad. And Ohio State's obviously Big Ten champions last year, so it's a step up, and it's a preseason best competition going in. So playing them first, I think. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to it because Ohio State may not be in their midseason prime shape, but at the same time we aren't. So it's just challenges week to week. Awesome.
Lauren, you're up.
Jake, this is Lauren. Lovie said you're going to be tested every day. Does that mean every player every day, or does that mean some players every day?
Every player every day.
Every player every day, okay.
Yeah.
What about your helmet? Is there anything special about your helmet as a protective against the virus?
Yeah, we have a little plastic face shield, usually where, it's kind of like, I would call it the opposite of a visor. Like, visor's right in your eyes, and then this is covering your mouth. So it's a little it's not really hard though. It's like a little plastic that gives right underneath, right in this area.
Okay, and as a leader of the team, have you been involved, or are you participating in any way in the college athlete unity thing?
You're talking about what the Pac-12's doing?
Yes.
I'm not.
What the Big Ten's doing?
I mean, I haven't really looked into it too much, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, awesome.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, guys. We're just waiting for Alex now. Sorry, that was a little bit of a cluster. I didn't really account for my echo there. So one of the things we have to work out, one of the many things. Oh, you can go off. This is weird. Good to go. Somebody jump in and ask a question.
Alex, it's Jeremy. Hope you're well, man. Just what was today like? What's this whole thing been like the last couple of months and finally getting on the field?
So weird, you know, like there's so many restrictions obviously we have to make sure we don't spread this. But it's just great to get out there and play ball again, you know. Just put on some helmets and shoulder pads and just get to work.
Alex, obviously for your seniors, this is such a big year. You've been leading up to this. Just how important is it for you guys to make sure everything is done well so they can get on the field and have the year you think you're going to have?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Like, we know, like, it only takes one guy to cancel this whole thing. So we just have to make sure everyone's doing their job and just working towards it, because it's going to be a really, really special year.
And just how do you feel about the offensive line group you have with 4 guys coming back and add Jarasati to the mix, had some younger guys getting older?
Yeah, I'm super excited. You know, I started living with Jarasati this summer, but I'm just so excited. You know, me, Vidari, and Doug been playing forever. KG also, just a bunch of experienced guys. You know, and we know exactly how we do, and we're gonna be able to win some games.
Sorry to hog it, but Blake, what do you know about him so far? What do you think of him so far?
So I mean, like, I've lived with him, but obviously for a long time, but like since the summer. But I mean, he's just a super hardworking guy. You know, all of his life, he's probably been told he's too short. You know, but he's just a mean dude, and he comes to work every single day, always just trying to get better.
Thanks, Alex. See you, man.
Hey, Palcho, how you doing? First question I have is, heading into this first practice, what was the biggest thing that came out of Blake's performance, and what position did they have him playing?
Out of Blake?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's playing some right guard and a little bit of center. But I mean, like, the biggest thing with him, he's a whoa, not go. You know, like, you never have to tell him to keep going. Like, you have to tell him to slow down. You know, he's just a super hard worker, a lunch pail guy, as we always joke around. But I mean, he's gonna be a real special player.
You mentioned that this offensive line group has been super close. Obviously, you have played together. I think all of you have started close to 30 games. Has he meshed well with that? And I'm assuming he has, assuming that he's living with you.
Yeah, so I mean, like, that's the one thing I knew. Like, obviously, he's from South Carolina. You know, he doesn't know a soul in Illinois. He's never even been here before. But I mean, I knew, like, bringing him in and just being one of the boys and just hanging out, it really helps us mesh together. You know.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Hey, Alex, hope you're well. How did this come about, you living with Blake? I mean, was that something you wanted to take on as a leader? Did you guys click well early? How did this kind of develop?
So I was thinking, as soon as I figured it out, I was like, hey, like, this might be kind of nice just to, you know, just have, like, I've never lived with any old lineman. I was like, it might be nice just to see this out. And obviously, like, just to be nice, you know, because, like I said, doesn't know anybody. Like, it would be tough transition to come out here, most likely live by himself. Just, you know, like, just really bring him in and welcome him in, my bad.
Then, you know, I know the university has safety protocols in terms of daily testing, and it sounds like you guys have some sort of mask or shield, I guess, on your helmet around your nose and mouth. But do you, when you're a senior, you said one guy can mess this up. Are you conveying that message to the younger guys and just about their actions when they're not in the Smith Center or at Memorial Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to preach every single day. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's their lives, but we're telling them if one guy messes up, there's a chance that this could lead to at least 30 guys quarantining, especially with the new CDC guidelines, where it takes as much as just one single contact to get you out. But I mean, we're just telling everyone just be smart. You know, don't go out, don't see the girl, but just, you know, just take care of business.
Alex.
Alex, I guess a follow-up to that last question, but have you seen maybe attitudes change from your team about all of these protocols over the last couple months as you've gotten, you know, deeper into this?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of stuff. You know, people are coming every day. Like, we have to wear a mask whenever we practice, everywhere. We can't do anything, and it sucks. And, like, one thing we're saying, obviously we have to sacrifice a few months, but at the end of the season, when we're Big Ten champs, it's going to be all worth it.
That's good for me. Thanks.
Alex, you mentioned, you know, you guys got that goal to be Big Ten champs. What was the vibe kind of like at practice, knowing that, you know, you guys are kind of going to have to do things at a limited capacity for a while, but you won't have that non-conference schedule to really gear up? So kind of just the attitude of, you know, kind of starting at a weird point, but having to really get fired up for week 1 with Ohio State in just 4 weeks.
Yeah, I know. I mean, especially a lot of us who were, like, my class, were all freshmen that year when we played Ohio State. We still have a bad taste in our mouths from that year. I mean, we're just excited. That's the best way to start off the season. You know, just not ease into it, but just dive straight into the pool. And we're super excited to go play them.
Thank you.
So, Alec, with 4 seniors and another fourth-year guy in Green, you know, the leadership is there, but there's probably some, you know, going to be a big void next year. Tell me about some of the younger guys, what you're seeing from them, guys who just got here, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just learning right now. You know, Kevin Tyler, like, he was being so hard on himself today. It's his first day, but it's just happy to see them actually wanting to learn, actually wanting to grow. You know, Brevin just transferred in from Mississippi State, and he's looking fantastic. And obviously all the guys who have been here, Vertus, Julian, Slaughter, Preston Angle, they're all doing a great job. I have no doubt that they'll be able to take over the reins next year.
And tell me about, you know, who you're working with at right tackle. Like, who are you grooming behind you?
Yeah, so I always have my little squad over there.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like Julian Pearl, Jordan Slaughter, Blaze Sparks, he's a freshman. He's looking really good right now. But, I mean, I tell everybody just like, hey, if you have any tips, ask for Darian, ask me, ask any of the guys, you know. Because we've all played for a long time. Just ask and see what we have to say. Just absorb this knowledge.
Yeah, thanks.
Alex, describe how it felt to run out there today on the practice field for the first time officially.
Oh, it was fantastic. You know, like, obviously we've been doing walkthroughs and like working out, but there's just a different feeling when you put on the pads, put on everything. And obviously there's some certain rules we have to follow, you know, stay separate. I want to go give the guys hugs, but I can't. I mean, it was just awesome to get out there and start doing training camp.
The last couple of years, you guys have had fans there. You had crowds there. That wasn't there today. You're on a different field than you were in the past, the rec fields. How was that? Would you prefer that? I know you couldn't have fans there, but it was kind of odd or different not to have them there.
It was obviously different, but I mean, once you get going, it's honestly the same. Whether you're playing at a high school field or at Soldier Field, it's still 100 yards by 53 yards, you know, so nothing much changes.
Thanks.
Hey, Alex.
Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. Hey, Alex, Scott Beatty, good to see you. A lot of different guys across the country have had different responses, opting out. You know, there's the risks. There's all the protocols you have to go through. For you personally, you know, how worth it is for you to go through all this and play? How much do you want to be playing football? And you know, why are you willing to go through that?
I want to play it so bad. Honestly, like, the biggest thing is just, especially with the O-line, like all the people in my class, we've been here for so long, and it's just special. You know, obviously, like 2017, 2018, going 2-10, 4-8, like, that just wasn't fun. And we had to go through that, and it was the worst times of our lives, but we put in the work every single day to help, like, gain this season, because it's going to be a real special season. And it's just to be able to see this go through and just make it happen.
And then the schedule coming out, all Big Ten. How much you embracing what's coming? And as an added treat, you get Penn State too to finish.
I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, like, it's gonna be a real gritty time, but it's honestly the best time, especially for the O-line that we have. I'm super stoked for it.
Is there one game that you're especially looking at there?
Game 1.
Thanks.
Alex, you mentioned him early, but your initial impressions of Brevin Jones, and specifically where position-wise they have him working right now?
I think they have him playing at, like, left tackle right now, but he's just looking good. You know, just natural, smooth bender. Like, I'm excited to see how he's going to look the rest of this camp.
Hey, Alex, we got one more here for you. Lovie said he felt this was the safest place you guys could be. Jake kind of echoed that as well. How are you feeling about the testing you have? Is it a spit test every day, and, you know, kind of being safe out there playing football?
Yeah, I truly believe it is. Like, Jeremy Bush has a fantastic plan. You know, my mom, she's a nurse. She works ICU with all COVID patients. And I was telling her about the plan yesterday, and she was blown away. It was amazing. We do spit testing 7 days a week. The Big Ten minimum, I think, is 2. They're just doing a fantastic job. You know, they're keeping us separate, using different locker rooms. But Jeremy Bush and his staff have done a fantastic job with all this.
Was your mom concerned at all? Obviously she knows, right?
Yeah, she knows, but I mean, like, she was a bit concerned. But once I told her what this plan was, she was completely satisfied because she knew how much they care and how much at the end of the day they have our well-being going first in terms of everything.
Have you ridden the roller coaster like a lot of fans have? I think of just the unknowns and are we going to play? Are we not going to play? Are we even going to have football?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't like to think too far. I'm just taking each day at a time, just trying to get better to play Ohio State.
Thanks, Al.
Hi, Alex. So you mentioned how, you wish you could give guys hugs, but you can't. And obviously in everyday normal people life, nobody's giving out handshakes anymore. So what are just some of those little things that you've noticed that it's just like, can't do that anymore? And what are some of those things that you wish you could be doing?
It's the worst. I love giving hugs or high fives or something. Like, it sucks. Like, I wish, like, every time, like, a receiver makes a play or something, like DJ Barker always loves doing some stuff, just like, and just at the very most giving an elbow or just like an air fist bump. Like, it sucks, but that's the world we live in.
Thanks.
Alex, you mentioned your mom is an ICU nurse. Has that given you maybe a unique perspective on this pandemic? And have you maybe shared any of the stories she shared with you broadly, obviously with your teammates, to maybe, emphasize the seriousness of this?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, she's seen like very young people like in their 30s. Obviously, like we're very healthy dudes. We're college Division I athletes, but I mean, it's just how serious this can be. Like, maybe it might not affect us, but I don't know. Maybe if we transmit it to one of these coaches or a pedestrian or someone, and it can eventually reach someone who's who has immune deficiency or something, and just being serious with it, and always wearing a mask and just being smart, not being like, yeah, not being.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
All right, should we go? Say bye to everybody.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Alex.
Alex. I appreciate it.
Alex, appreciate it.